It's Tuesday, April 27. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Jamaica's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic was beefed up on Monday as the island received another 55,200 doses of Astrazeneca vaccines from the COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access COVAX facility. This is the second batch of vaccines to be received from COVAX. In March, Jamaica became the first Caribbean country to receive vaccines from the global initiative. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was among the team at the Norman Manley International Airport to receive the vaccines Monday afternoon.
We do expect another shipment in May, and we are having conversations at different levels with different institutions. COVAX has committed a May shipment, and we hope that that May shipment will be more than the 55,200 that we have gotten this time around. And so we will give better particulars on that when the time comes.
He said this batch will facilitate persons due their second shot in May. Astrazeneca is a binary dose vaccine and is only considered effective when both doses are administered.
The second dose is absolutely fundamental to the full treatment. I say that because today we are receiving 55,200 doses of the Astrazeneca under the COVAX window. It is the second commercial delivery that we have had under COVAX. Remember, we had the 14,000 plus previously. And because of where we are in the vaccine program, we now have to begin the second phase, which is to inoculate or vaccinate the 39 plus, say 40,000 persons that would be due for their second shot in the month of May, starting somewhere around the 5th or 6th of May. And what that means is that we have to firstly say to those persons, we now have your second shot. So prepare yourselves to come out in May, because we have it and we're reserving it for you. There's a place at the table for you in storage until your day comes for you to get your second shot. That's good news.
Time now for the latest COVID-19 clinical management summary from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
In the clinical summary for Monday, April 26, 67 new positives and 6 fatalities were recorded. To date, 767 persons locally have lost their lives to the virus. The island's overall case count is now 45,212 with 23,386 active cases. The new positives were taken from a test sample size of 1,646. Kingston and St. Andrew reported 20 positives, St. Anne 17 and St. James 6. 20,729 recoveries have occurred thus far, with 103 registered over the past 24 hours. Currently, there are 220 persons hospitalized, with 12 patients showing moderate symptoms and 30 in critical condition. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Dental assistants across Jamaica's 4 health regions have taken industrial action. The group is protesting the non-payment of a 4% salary increase that was due to them, along with other allowances. General Secretary for the Union of Technical, Administrative and Supervisory Personnel, UTASP, St. Patrice Ennis, says workers have not been given the salary increase for the 2019 to 2020 period and a $30,000 lump sum payment that was promised to them under the committee labor agreement. Mr. Ennis says they are prepared to continue their strike given this reality. As the island seeks paths to recovery from the global COVID-19 pandemic, tourism, which is traditionally a major earner, is needed. Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett is encouraging industry players to use the recovery process to build a stronger and more resilient tourism sector and to facilitate the needs of what he's dubbed the Generation C travelers. Minister Bartlett gave an update on plans for the sector in a recent JIS think tank. He's calling it the Blue Ocean Strategy. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says it's aimed at facilitating those with a wanderlust cultivated by continued restrictive safety measures being experienced by Generation C.
The definition for the Generation COVID is the travelers whose experiences and expectations have been shaped by the health and safety risk of the pandemic. The requirement for social distancing and enhancing hygiene, the requirement for testing, quarantines, and vaccines to travel, and the psychological impact of lockdowns, which have built demand for escape and exploration.
Sand, sun, and sea. That's how Jamaica has always been sold to prospective visitors. One destination. But Minister Bartlett says the Blue Ocean Plan will reset Jamaica's tourism strategy.
So the Blue Ocean Strategy calls for the creation of business models that depart from traditional models based on competition and standardization. In other words, there's a blue ocean and there's a red ocean. The red ocean is where you're competing with everybody else in the same space. The blue ocean is an area where you're differentiated. What is it that Jamaica will do that is different from the rest of the market? So we're not competing on similar grounds. We have comparative advantage because we are doing different things, new things, exciting things, innovative things.
He notes St. Thomas is poised to cater to high-end clientele, setting it apart from other zones.
Over the long term, a vital component of the Blue Ocean strategy will be to strengthen the systems for tourism zoning and theming, so that the unique characteristic of each destination area will be preserved and enhanced to support their own distinct brand appeal. And this is an important point. I think I have a map, which shows how the zoning will happen. We're looking at Montego Bay as a special area, the Ocho Rios area, Falmouth is another special area, Port Antonio. But we're looking also at the entire area from Arroca-Bessa to now St. Thomas as being an area designated for a different type of product, the high-end product, less of density, and will attract a higher economic grouping, what you call a high net worth clientele.
Kingston and Port Royal will be marketed as centers for culture, entertainment, and business.
While on the south coast, we're into more of the what we call rustic luxury, and to focus a lot on community tourism and how agriculture can be infused into that experience, agritourism. And then the west end of Negril, starting from Savlamar all the way back, a more hedonistic type, and we're looking at the whole cannabis-infused experience in areas like those where the focus is a lot more going to be on medical marijuana and such nutraceutical values as they present.
To complement the Blue Ocean strategy, Minister Bartlett says his team will identify and establish innovative policies and standards to assure visitors of a safe, unique, and authentic experience. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency will be conducting an audit of the island's 52 children's homes. That's the word from Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Robert Morgan. He made the announcement while speaking at a recent virtual press brief held by the CPFSA.
Now we're going through the process of having the auditors go into the homes to look at how they're managing their finances, how they're taking care of their children in terms of nutrition, in terms of education, in terms of the environment the children live in terms of the human resource requirements of these homes.
Of the 52 homes focused on child care, 9 is run by the government.
This audit will be the platform on which we will base the new vision for the grading of homes, an objective system where we can make a determination as to the type of intervention that is needed for a particular home.
In a follow-up story, residents of Marverly Drive in Yallahs have gotten a new roadway. When our news team visited the area, workmen could be seen paving the corridor. Councillor for the division, John Lee, thanked authorities for the much-needed repairs.
I am standing on the completion of Marverly Drive, fully asphalt, and I just want to say thanks to the Minister, Honourable Desmond Mackenzie, for making this long-awaiting project become a reality. The resident and myself are happy about everything. Thank you.
At this time, we will visit Gabriel Thompson at the business desk for a quick report on the shifts and turns in the financial markets.
In Monday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 1,004 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 94 stocks, of which 41 advanced, 35 declined, and 18 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 23 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Insurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were Access Financial Services Limited, Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share, and Dolphin Cove Limited. Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 20.3 million units, followed by Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with 1.9 million units and the Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1.4 million units. In foreign exchange trading for Monday, April 26, the US dollar sold for an average $154.66. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $125.89. The pound sterling traded for $215.96, and the euro sold for an average $189.39. Oil pared its losses on Monday as the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Companies OPEC and its allies indicated that it was watching surging COVID-19 cases in India, which may dent fuel demand in the world's third biggest oil importer. According to source information related to Reuters, the OPEC Plus Joint Technical Committee has kept its forecast for growth in global oil demand this year, but is concerned about surging COVID-19 cases in India and elsewhere. OPEC and allies led by Russia, a group known as OPEC Plus, will discuss output policy at a meeting this week. Brent crude futures settled 46 cents to $65.65 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 23 cents to $61.91 a barrel. And on that note, we close this Tuesday edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
In news further afield, one student in a school at the south of St. Lucia has tested positive for COVID-19. This comes 1 full week after school was officially reopened for the third term. We hear more in this report.
A confirmed case of a student testing positive for COVID-19 at one of the island's learning institutions has compelled education officials to tout the measures put in place for this eventuality. Sources tell News Force that a student at the Labrie Boys Primary School has contracted the virus, and a class of 16 students has been asked to quarantine as they await test results. The education sector has been among the hardest hit in the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, disrupting physical classes and causing grave financial woes to some administrators and staff. While Chief Education Officer Dr. Fiona Philip Meyer did not speak specifically to reports about a confirmed case, she highlighted the challenges facing the school system like any other sector given exposure to the community amid a pandemic.
For us, we are cognizant of the fact that we are part of a larger society. I like to say education is not a bubble. We would have parents, students, teachers, other staff members who may be impacted by COVID. The reality is that we have to manage COVID cases As per all other sectors, having looked at the statistics and seen the number of cases which is in the adult population, we would note that many of these adults are parents, are staff members, and so it will be a situation where we have to manage cases within educational institutions.
It should be noted that health officials have labeled schools as low-spread areas. The education sector is governed by a rigid process that includes sanitization at points of entry, physical distancing, and alternate day scheduling of classes to avoid overcrowding at the school plants.
It is about working with the health authorities, working with our teams on the ground to manage as best as we can, with hopefully a consistent period for our students to be within educational institutions.
It is also noteworthy that given the low risk of spread at school, the threat of cases often emanates from outside the school population through sources like transportation, community and adult spread. Dr. Philip Meyer outlines the measures implemented to mitigate pandemic disruptions to the vital third term.
Knowing that, there are incidents where we will have to manage COVID-19 cases, and so all established protocols should be in place and are in place. And our big reminder to everyone is to adhere to the protocols at educational institutions as well as in the wider population and the wider general public.
Data from the World Health Organization suggests that children under the age of 18 years represent about 8.5% of reported cases. WHO has recommended that after reopening schools, a rigid monitoring system should be in place to identify the number of school-based outbreaks, effectiveness of policies and measures, and effectiveness of symptoms reporting, testing, and contact tracing of suspected cases. According to the WHO, lessons learned from the monitoring exercises should be employed to ensure the safest environment possible for students and staff. Solange Alfred, HCS News Force.
At this point in time, all COVID-19 positive results in Trinidad and Tobago cannot be tested to see if any variant of concern is present. But epidemiologist Dr. Avery Hines says there could be additional capacity in the near future to increase samples. His statement came mere hours before the P1 Brazilian variant was detected in 5 additional samples of COVID-19 in the island on Monday. Trinidad and Tobago reported 120 new cases on Monday, bringing the total number of active COVID-19 cases to 1,409. Sunil Lala reports.
Just last week, Monday, the Health Ministry confirmed that the P1 variant, also known as the Brazilian variant, was found in a local sample following genetic sequencing done by the University of the West Indies. And last Thursday, the same Brazilian variant was detected in 3 additional samples coming from 2 nationals and 1 non-national. Epidemiologist Dr. Avery Hines could not confirm whether there could be any type of community spread, but says as with any virus, it is possible.
While we cannot yet say that this is an established set of community spread, what we can say is that in the absence of geographic and epidemiologic links, we continue to monitor, but it is entirely possible that once the variant is introduced into the population, then it does what variants do, which is establish itself as one of the circulating strains.
Currently, not all positive samples are being sent for genetic sequencing to see whether the variant exists and is being done via random sampling, but Dr. Hines says there could be additional capacity soon.
There are discussions in the background to have additional collaboration between Public Health England and the university to see whether additional capacity can be acquired. But at this point in time, with the existing capacity, we cannot test every single positive to identify whether variants of concern apply.
The Health Ministry says the additional cases of the P1 variant do not have any geographic or epidemiological links to the first recorded case, and it's not known where or how they would have picked up the virus.
There hasn't been any difficulty in stating that the variant itself is known to be a South American variant and therefore would be a variant that would have been introduced via that means. We don't know at which point the individuals who have been identified would have gotten their virus because they're both national and non-nationals.
Dr. Hines says at present, there's no need to test all samples as there are other methodologies and strategies to get the most from limited resources. Sonolala, TTT News.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, in lighter news, workers in the Unemployment Relief Program have been building a reputation for creative, carefully crafted items with a functional use. In Tobago, all eyes are on their latest offering, Decorative Pavers.
TTT News journeyed to the URP workshop at Blenheim, Tobago to experience firsthand the process involved in completing the new decorative paver blocks. With simple materials, sand, cement, gravel, BRC, and not forgetting the mold design, within 15 minutes the job on each block is complete and it's left to set. According to foreman Marvin Phillips, the decision to add the pavers to the URP's offerings came after they did some research.
We just decided, well, we needed something new, something that could spark a new found interest in the people, because you don't want to be doing the same old thing over and over again. You know, as a business, you always need to look for new and innovative ways to improve what you're doing, right? And we saw this as an improvement on the ones that we already have.
The URP gang is also giving us another option.
It's two sides of the coin. We do the paver block, and we could also stamp if the driveway or whatever area you're using is too large, right? We could use the stamp to have the job done a little easier.
On a daily basis, the URP teams at this workshop construct a variety of articles for public consumption.
You have many items here, you know. You have pots, right? If you want, plants, you have like the trough, like if you want to put your little kitchen garden, right? You have benches, you have table for outside, your outside backyard, you have tables, right? You have other designs of footwalks, as I said before. This is just an improvement on the footwalk, right? So you have other footwalks, right? We used to make even concrete sinks.
Not afraid to get my hands dirty, with guidance from the URP team, one more decorative paver was completed, proving just how easy the process is. But taking note that not everyone has the time or the resources to make their own block, the Blenheim team says they'll continue to do the work for us. And sometimes, like this coming Thursday, there'll be something extra for supporters as items will be available at reduced prices. Carissa Douglas for TTT News.
In sports, hundreds of Japanese towns and cities have been forced to rethink plans to host Olympic teams owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. The western town of Okuzumo spent more than $5 million preparing to welcome India's hockey team for a pre-games training camp, only to scrap the visit because of the coronavirus. After sinking money into upgrading sports facilities, Okuzumo balked when it became clear it would have to provide bubble-like facilities. More than 500 municipalities signed up to host athletes and officials in a scheme aimed at broadening the Olympics benefits beyond Tokyo. According to an AFP News report, some have already scrapped plans to host overseas athletes, while others are devising careful programs that they hope will keep everyone safe. In the city of Kurihara in northern Miyagi Prefecture was planning to host South Africa's hockey team, but decided the expense was no longer worth it given the limitations imposed by virus measures. In some cases, Olympic teams have cancelled, worried about the risk of infection before the games. And that's all we have for you today. Please join us tomorrow, same time, same place, for the news right here on PBCJ. We are the People's Station.